Welcome to another visual number talk. This is visual pattern number 9, and it is a good one to get your class started because it's linear and it's easy to see the growth, the progression. Okay, so let's begin like always. When we have a table, we try to fill in the data for the outputs, the y values that compare to the iteration numbers, which in this case, iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3. So they can begin by counting 3, 2, 1, which is 6 snowflakes. And then the next one, well, they can see 6 plus 3 more, which is 9. And then that same image, which makes it kind of easy to deal with, plus 3 more, which is 12. So very simply, kids can figure out the iteration 4 is going to be 15, partly because they can see for every increase in one iteration, there's an increase of 3 snowflakes. So that's important for the equation, of course. It's important for you to bring this up with students. And if you're a student, it's important to see the connection between this plus 3 and the visual increase. But as of now, I've only written the numbers. Ask your students, how do you see the increase? And hopefully they'll say something like, well, in the first iteration, there are 6 total pieces, but there's like one row of 3. In the second iteration, there are 2 rows of 3. And in the third iteration, there are 3 rows of 3. And so in the fourth iteration, there would be 4 rows of 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12, plus that 3 more, which is like this little triangle out here. This is the same every time. It's not changing. So how does this model compare to the iteration number so that we can generate an equation, or first an expression really, in terms of x, how are we generating y, the output? Well, if we consider the fact that here is one group of 3, this is one group of 3, and here, second iteration, let me change that color, there's 2 groups of 3, and then in the third iteration, there are 3 groups of 3, and in the fourth iteration, there would be 4 groups of 3. We can see the iteration number every time is multiplied by 3. Okay, so, and you can see it either way. Like this is the iteration number, and this is being multiplied by 3. So for the equation, it's going to be the iteration number, which is x, so I'm going to write it right here, times 3. And your students might write it this way, encourage them to see it as 3x. Plus, there's always this 3, this constant, sitting there as a triangle. So it's 3x plus 3. This is the expression that would go in here. In terms of the output, you generate it by taking 3 times the input plus 3. So then kids who haven't figured it out yet, 15 times 3 is 45 plus 3, that's 48. And the equation is right here. Y equals 3x plus 3, but you can see it right here. Y equals 3x plus 3. Now, at this point, you also should try and get them to graph this equation. So when you graph y equals 3x plus 3, it looks like this. And what you can see is that even at the 0 iteration, at the beginning of the visual pattern, if you were to go backwards to the 0 iteration, there would only be these 3 snowflakes. That shows up as the b value. Now the slope is in the table, right? We know it's rise over run. So it's going to be the rise is the y, 3, the run is the 1, 3 over 1 is the slope, which simplifies to 3. That's the m value. But kids should see it as triangles. Like look at the graph now, you see triangles, rise to 3, run of 1, rise to 3, run of 1. That represents the growth from iteration to iteration. That's a multiplier. Remember, we're multiplying the iteration number by 3 every time, that shows up in the graph as the steepness of the slope. I actually also had students who saw it as more of a diagonal pattern where there was 3 here, and then there were 2 groups of 3 here, and then 3 groups of 3 here, which I thought was pretty cool, but they also still recognize that there's always 3 extras. That's the constant. So regardless of how they see the pattern, it's the same equation. Y equals 3x plus 3. I hope that this helped today, and I hope you continue watching. I have a lot more of these visual patterns on my YouTube channel, so check out the playlist. There are many to choose from to use from the website visualpatterns.org. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. If you see a pattern that you want me to model for you, let me know in the comments too. Thanks and have a great day.